Well, it's been a while, hasn't it? Full year of the Phil Hills Film Reels YouTube channel. Thank you for all the subscribers who have followed along. I apologize for not putting out as much content. Life with a baby, full-time job. It led me to not want to do a lot of recording in my downtime. But I cannot not record my top 10 films of the year. I've been doing that, long-standing tradition, so here we go. So I had a lot of 4-star out of 5-star films fighting for this 10th place spot. And this one won out because I think it will have the largest positive impact on the world, and it is called Stutz. True confidence is living with uncertainty and moving forward. There's so many quotables in this documentary. The documentary features therapist and psychiatrist Dr. Philip Stutz, and features and is directed by Jonah Hill, his second directorial outing. And what is so wonderful about this is that Jonah and Phil take this, take these tools that Jonah has found super helpful in his own personal life, and he's using his platform to bring these tools to a global audience with people who may not have access to therapy or counseling, may not be able to afford, any sort of mental health help like that, or are honestly too stubborn or are too busy. And no one's too busy to watch a 90-minute documentary that you could pause at different points because it's kind of broken up into sections. As someone who's been in counseling for a year and a half now, I think everyone would benefit from even implementing one of these tools in their life. I've talked about, my counselors watched this doc, and I've watched it, and we've talked about it, and I think it's just I think it provides some interesting things. Not everything's going to work for everybody, but I think at least one thing in this will work for everybody. So all that to say, it's worth a watch. Check it out on Netflix. Coming in, number 9. It is, of course, Black Panther: Wakanda Forever. I cannot believe and even comprehend the negative reviews surrounding this film. I would lose a lot of I would lose a lot of trust in the artistic opinion of someone who saw Doctor Strange: Multiverse of Madness and Thor: Love and Thunder and this film in the same year and say that this one was the weaker installment. That doesn't make any sense to me. I understand Doctor Strange and Thor can be a lot more fun at times, but the message of grief and how people are dealing with it and the groundedness in this film compared to the other two just floored me in the theater. And I walked away knowing that this was one of the most mature films in the MCU, as well as just one of the most cinematic films in the MCU. The techniques that they used, I felt there, and I felt like I was walking with them in their grief, and it's just yeah. It's just really hats off to Ryan Coogler for pulling this off, and his writing partner, who's escaping me at this time. But for them to make a sequel that is arguably better than its predecessor in wake of the death of the main protagonist, and also push the MCU forward, and coming in at the tail end of like just a very lost and misguided phase in the cinematic universe, is like, to pull off this film in the wake of all of that is just like, so impressive. Number 8, coming in straight from India across the pond, it is RRR, the greatest action movie of all time. It is the most fun. It is the fastest 3 hours, or even, I don't know, it could be 4 hours, I don't know. It's just like the fastest for the longest runtime ever. It makes John Wick look like Johnny English. It makes Mad Max Fury Road look like Pixar's Cars. It makes Die Hard look like Paul Blart Mall Cop. It makes Indiana Jones look like National Treasure. This movie is bananas in the best way possible. Like, what happens in some Marvel films, that's like, okay, like eye-rolling kind of thing. Like, this has in spades, but it takes itself full seriously. It knows what it's doing, and physics are not, Physics are not. It is so good. Literally, a man throws a jaguar onto somebody else. Like, a jaguar's coming at him, he grabs the jaguar, throws it at somebody else, and it continues to attack somebody else. Like a one man fights through a mob of like 1,000 people, and it's just, it is so good. On top of just being an insane bananas action film, it is also arguably one of the greatest, best portrayals in Hollywood, Bollywood, or Tollywood, like that, of a heterosexual bromance. The real, David and Jonathan from the Bible. You've got 2 Samuel 1:26. I grieve for you, Jonathan, my brother. You were very dear to me. Your love was wonderful, more wonderful than that of a woman. That heterosexual kind of male friendship exists, and so it is portrayed perfectly in this. Yeah, all I can say is, you want to be entertained for 3 hours and not be bored, this is a great movie. It's also a musical. Coming in at number 7 is a movie near and dear to my heart. Truly inserted in here, the most subjective, the most biased that any favorites list could be. This one in particular, the Bob's Burgers movie. I love Bob's, and I love the show. I think it's one of the best shows of all time. I think it captures low middle class America perfectly. It's got some fantasy elements, some exaggerated embellishings of normal life, but it truly is like just like grounded, especially like the first 5 seasons, like are so like the interpersonal family dynamics. It's just great. I love it so much. So the fact that they made a movie after being the butt of every Family Guy joke, every American Dad joke, every Simpsons joke, like each one of those, because it falls within that genre of adult humor in an animated style, which, don't even get me started on people who count this genre out just off principle without even trying it. without even going in open-handed. They're just close-hearted. They're like, well, that's stupid. It's stupid to have this kind of thing, you know, adult humor. And so don't even go there, okay? But the fact that they made this movie, and I think it's better than the Simpsons movie, I think it's better than any Seth MacFarlane movie, but yeah, so it's just a elongated episode, so I can't fully say, hey, you go out and watch this right now, because if you haven't watched any of Bob's Burgers, I think it would be hard to truly enjoy this. However, I have met and have read several reviews of those kind of people who said, I'm just seeing this to see this, and they watched it and they liked it. Didn't fully like turn them onto the show, but they still enjoyed it. It's got music, it's got a little bit of drama, and it's full of laughs. So okay, we come to Nope. Nope, coming in at number 6. Big Nope. I was blown away by this movie. This movie just told alien life, portrayed alien life in a way that I haven't seen done in like a decade. And I just say that from uniqueness. I'm not saying it repeated anything, but man, I can't talk about this movie very much without spoiling things, because there are twists and turns throughout the movie that are so dang intentional that completely, like, your cinematic experience. Like, you need to watch the whole thing before we can really dissect it together. But it is a blockbuster, truly at its core, to the same extent as Top Gun Maverick or, you know, Mission Impossible or RRR or whatever. But it's in a more classic Spielbergian way. Like, it's slower, like some of Spielberg's older works, but Spielberg's older works are held in such higher regard that you kind of forget how slow they actually are until you rewatch them. But it's got this grandiose alien, like, just very interesting, very tense, very like on the edge of your seat. And then it merits watching a second time, because once you find all the secret twists here and there, then you can go back and watch it again. And when I watched it a second time, I was like, oh my gosh, everything's so intentional and leading up to all of these big payoffs at the end. And definitely was worth it seeing in theaters. I would highly recommend seeing all of Jordan Peele's work in theaters, just based off the 3 that he's put out, or the big 3 that he's put out so far. Yeah, great movie. Coming in at number 5 is The Menu. Very surprise entry late into the year, coming in at right around Thanksgiving, is a movie that is essentially pulling from the same vein, dramatic vein of Ratatouille and Succession. It is made by the same people who do the HBO hit show Succession, which is a great modern Shakespearean family drama. And then they take their technical cinematic elements that they do to make such an elevated show, and they put that into this horror comedy kind of thing. If you haven't talked with me or haven't talked with anyone, horror and comedy go so well together, they go so hand in hand, that like when you have something like this, or like Barbarian or Black Phone or Nope, you know, like those, all of those movies this year really had a beautiful blend, a concoction of those 2 elements in each of these. This is definitely more of a drama, but it has definitely dark humor moments, and that made me laugh a lot in theaters. Saw it at a late night showing. There was like less than 20 people in there, but that's still a lot. And I feel like I was like one of the only people laughing throughout. And I don't know, Ray Fiennes, Anya Taylor-Joy, even Nick Holt, like Johnny Legs, aka Johnny Leguizamo, like all great performances. And like, I don't know, it's like, I already said that it's like Ratatouille and Succession, but it's also like Scream in that like satirical look on different things, and I just love what it had to say. Definitely a dark movie. Wouldn't recommend it for the faint of heart, or there's some definitely more triggering kind of deaths and depression kind of things in this, and so just be careful of that. Maybe look up some stuff on IMDb, but yeah. We got number 4 back here. Number 4, the unbearable weight of massive talent. Don't know why it was a little Christopher Walken at the last part of there, but it's all about my man Nicholas. He is just on fire. Only Nicolas Cage could be in a movie about himself in this way, and it be so darn funny. Oh my gosh. Pedro Pascal, though, steals the show in the fact that he just plays all of us. He plays a human, he plays someone, just a big fanboy. It's just a brilliant comedy, so goofy, so ridiculous, but just laugh out loud funny. I saw it in the theaters twice, both times, whole audience just cracking up. Although one part was definitely my buddy Josiah making a reference to hit one of his greatest works in the movie. Nick Cage says, "I've got an idea," and then there's a pause, and Josiah breaks all theater etiquette and says, "We need to steal the Declaration of Independence." And I lost it. It was so funny. Multiple people laughed in the theater. It was great. Okay, now we're getting into the tricky bits. Because we're in my top 3. My number 1 is solid, but 2 and 3, ooh, they are close. They are peanut butter and jelly, 2 very different things, but together they made my year. So what I'm settling in at number 3 is Top Gun Maverick. Top Gun Maverick. What the heck? Freaking Tom, I'm in a cult cruise. Like, good grief. Like, what a freaking guy. Like, how did you go from a movie beloved way back then and come way later now and make a sequel that's one of the greatest blockbusters of all time? You took the whole like argument of sequels are never as good as the original. Like, there was already good contenders to beat out that, stereotype, but this one just eliminated it. Like, there's no room left in that argument. And so, like, you don't even need to see the first Top Gun. That's how good this sequel is. It stands alone. But it's even better for those people who loved it. Like, it's both. Like, it is equally of value to the Top Gun fans, when Top Gun was in theaters originally, and then it also to the people who I've talked to, dozens of people who have seen it and didn't watch the first one and were like, yeah, this was like one of the best movies ever. Like, there is just something about the story, the simplicity, but also just the honesty and then the realness, you know, the Tom Cruise bit. They're pulling real G's and real planes, yada yada yada. But it shows. It 100% shows. Like I said, this is the opposite of the spectrum right now. This is the opposite of the spectrum of Top Gun. The boom, heroic, boom, straightforward, like hero, like just golden, good versus evil, hero journey story. Then you've got the grungy, slow, in the dirt, gray, moody, emo. Coming in at number 2, The Batman. If you can't get over Robert Pattinson, that's on you, not on me. He is a good actor. The problem is you just haven't seen him be a good actor since Twilight. And so, because all of his stuff has been more independent and more artsy. And he's done great work in those movies. Good Time, The Lighthouse, both excellent acting works. And then he became Batman. And yeah, it is emo Batman. But I would argue that's the trajectory. If the trilogy gets made, the trilogy will lead him to become Bruce Wayne. Because that's what I heard. He's just not the Bruce Wayne I wanted to see. Oh, you mean toxic masculinity Bruce Wayne? That's just like, being all misogynist with women, getting all the models and the playboys and just flirting for no good reason. The one who is kind of a douchebag with all of his money. You want that Bruce Wayne? Okay, sorry we took a break from that. That's what you wanted in a Batman movie. It's about Batman, and he's a great Batman. He's dark, he's moody. That first opening sequence, that's my favorite part of the film. The opening sequence, the opening montage, the dreariness, the Nirvana song, like, it's like, when he comes out of the shadows, whoo! Like, I did not feel that kind of fear listening to Christian Bale or watching George Clooney or Val or even Michael Keaton. And so, listen, respect due to Michael Keaton and respect due to Christian Bale, no respect for George, and just like the ounce of respect for Val. But like, good night. Like, this is the Batman I've been waiting for, and yeah. So I don't care how long that movie is. That movie could have been an hour longer. I would have been fine. The slow detective work, Colin Farrell as Penguin. No one expected that. They drowned him in, prosthetics, but it was still great. And yeah, watched it again. Watched it in theaters twice. Watched it on a plane to India. It was just one of my favorite movies of the year, and done by the director Matt Reeves, who directed the Planet of the Apes trilogy with James Franco, Gary Oldman, and then Woody Harrelson, and then of course Andy Serkis as the lead Caesar throughout all of those. That trilogy is one of the greatest trilogies of all time. So if he does the caliber of what he did with this Batman and makes it into a trilogy, this will easily be the best trilogy of Batman we've ever gotten. Well, here we are. We've made it down to number 1. What is it? Well, it's everything. Oh, everything you say. Yeah. Everything, everywhere, all at once. This movie, I know I said RRR is bananas, but this movie is actually bananas. Like, just the weirdest, silliest, Like, RRR is silly because of like, there's no physics. This movie is silly because of like the concept of weird and multiverse and like just cartoonish at times, and like it's so good. This movie is everything I could possibly want it to be in a movie. It's got a heartwarming family dynamic that's somehow grounded in a just crazy out there world. The amount of people that I've watched this with who just basically like after the first act are like, that brain melting ridiculousness. That is what this is in store for you when you watch this movie. Yeah, this is everything I would want to make in a movie ever. It makes me laugh, it makes me cry, and it's just a wonderful, warm story. I don't know what else you want in a movie. Like, I want crazy fantasy stuff going on, and I want, crazy sci-fi stuff, and I want in all of that, a grounded, real relationship conversation that can happen, that helps people grow. In all the generational trauma movies that are coming out between Turning Red, Encanto, Strange World, all this Disney and Pixar having parent issues. This movie does that, but just to a level of excellence that Disney cannot do in this current state. So yeah, check this movie out on Prime, and that's it. That's my number one. There was no question in my mind after the second watch of that I was like, well, that's my number one movie of the whole year. And Top Gun came out a few weeks later, and it was right there. It was right there, but I always lean towards more fantasy when I pick my favorites. So yeah, Happy New Year. Thanks for sticking with the channel. I'm gonna keep producing content. We'll see how fast or how slow I go, but if you have any questions, check out the comment section, ask me anything you want, I'll answer it. And if you're like, oh, Philip, but what about this movie? Like, did you feel good about this movie? Well, you can check my Letterboxd, which is either in the description box, or if I actually figure out how to put it right here, then it'll be right here. But if not, it's in my description. Link to that. There's a direct link to my Letterboxd 2022 list where I can rank all of the 50 plus movies that I've seen this year. And so maybe yours is in there, and it was one of those that almost made it into the top 10, but just got edged out. So yeah, Happy New Year. Have a good one. Stay safe, and we'll see you next time.